Hey guys, video number 3 for today, and this one is more about living with a disability and living on a fixed income, and how the government either needs to give us more money for our medicinal medication or spiritual medication or both, marijuana. Um, Cannabis helps me sleep due to my anxiety. It helps me focus on prayer between me and God. And now, granted, I know I could probably make it a little bit easier on myself if I was to just cut down some of my bills. But given my circumstances right now, that's not too feasible because I am a person on a disability trying to also create a business here. So that my situation is a little bit tricky. But I also know that even for people that aren't trying to own a business and they're on a fixed income, to still try and buy their medicinal medications is too expensive. Way too expensive. I'll give you an example. On average, $100 will get you just over 10 grams, if not 10 grams on the nose. Sometimes even less. Because it all depends on the strain, the type, the dollar amount. The highest I've seen is $14. And then they wonder why some people had to fight the Supreme Court and appeal the Harper government, our former Prime Minister, saying you couldn't grow your own medicinal marijuana anymore. Now, I admit I have forgotten up until now, up until I said it, to try and see if the deadline for that is, because the Supreme Court ruled that was unconstitutional, unfair. You had people openly admitting that they had to go to the black market to get their medicinal marijuana. It may not be through a government dispensary, it may not be through, let's call them the gray area dispensaries, which I think those poor guys get a bad rap. But the medication, no matter which way you slice it, isn't cheap. Okay, during the winter, we're stuck. At least I know me, in a wheelchair. You're stuck in the house because snow, and then even if you're not in a wheelchair, a lot of times if you're using medicinal marijuana, it's because you have arthritic pains, maybe a bad back, maybe scoliosis. So going out in the winter is hard on your bones. And I think OHIP, at least in Ontario, or I don't know what they call it in different provinces, but I think that they need to start covering at least a portion of medicinal marijuana costs. But when I wrote the health minister of Ontario, they said that they couldn't because nobody's ever tried to patent anything, to study it, like from the big pharma companies or whatever. Now you got Shoppers Drug Mart and all those guys that are now saying, now that the federal liberal government wants to legalize, and they said they're going to be tabling legislation by next year, which I hope they do. Now you got them saying, now you got the big pharmacy companies and all that saying, well, we're looking at getting into the market. But yet, you spent I don't know, 50 years trying to bury the studies and trying to bury the common sense. And then you got Kathleen Wynne that wants to, once the government makes it recreational use, she wants to put the marijuana. Like, I've had a discussion on one of our old videos with Dana Larson, and he brought up a good point that the companies want to. I can't even help but laugh at it. They want to make it where they freaking, like, look at this. They want to. I can't even. Oh, they want to put it where the the marijuana is in the friggin' liquor store. Are you kidding me? Okay, you can't do that. And I think I mentioned this before on a video. I gotta be honest, sometimes I think of so many videos I want to do, I forget which ones I've done sometimes. That's my fault. But honestly, why would they want to do that? Why? Okay, there's people that choose to smoke marijuana to get away from alcohol. Now, I get some addiction people might say, well, you're substituting one addiction for another. In one way, that makes sense, but you don't overdose from marijuana. You may pull away, but you don't overdose. If somebody wants to tell me that there's an overdose of it, show me the article, please, in the comments, whatever. I'm open to discussion. Just don't be a dick about it. So, like, this is God's plant, okay? And yet, it says, in the Bible, I will give of you a plant for the healing of all nations. Okay? That might not be an exact quote, but I mean, go look it up. That's what the internet's for. So, it's just, honestly, please, at least for the medical users right now, once it becomes legal, or even before it becomes legal, because look, they're tabling legislation by next year. Okay? But it doesn't mean it's going to be legal by next year. And I've heard some people say, well, that's in violation of a UN treaty, blah, blah, blah. If that's the case, what? The states didn't enter that treaty when Colorado made it legal? Washington, the state itself made it legal? I'm not talking federal. Like, come on, man. At least cover a portion of it. Now, some dispensaries may, if you fill out a paper and you show something saying you don't make a lot of money, they may alleviate 10% of your medication. So that's cool. I get that, and I respect that to anybody that's out there. Okay, but and that's a dispensary. But $10 is $10. What's it gonna buy you in this day and age? Maybe an extra bag of milk? Like, I'm not saying it's not appreciated, but I'm saying the federal government or the liberal government or both. I didn't mean to say federal and liberal. I meant federal and provincial governments need to come together. They need to try to figure out a way to cover at least some of the costs for us. Because I shouldn't have to choose between food, and neither should anybody else. We shouldn't have to choose between food or going to the movies with a friend, because we don't get out a lot. To some of us don't, anyways. To medication that helps us sleep, helps us just plain and simple live a better life. Okay, let's pray for open minds here. Let's pray for open minds. I ask anybody to share this video. And I just thought of something new that we can do to bring attention to this. Share this video. Send it to your MP. Send it to whoever you need to send it to. Help us get the message out there. And God bless you all. And yeah, just open minds, people.